Hello. My Polygence project is about a fashion magazine that analyzes the portrayal of body and clothing in ancient Greek statues. I named the magazine Arkhaía Móda, which translates to ancient fashion in Greek. In this presentation, I aim to demonstrate significant ancient Greek art and sculptures, as well as their use of clothing and presentation to describe and interpret their meanings within ancient Greek society. This brings me to my research question. How is ancient Greek clothing represented in material culture, and how does it portray the intentions and customs of ancient Greek society? But before we begin, let's start with who I am. My name is Ryann Mahoney, and I'm in the 11th grade. I live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and my mentor's name is Sarah. I have a few academic interests, including the classics, literature, and really anything to do with the humanities. I chose this topic in particular because I've always been interested in fashion and was inspired by the creativity found in fashion magazines. I wanted to do something innovative while demonstrating my love for ancient Greece by exploring the art of that time period. The overall goal of this presentation will be to analyze how Greek dress is depicted in ancient art and its past implications. Interpreting art aids in understanding Greek society and prominent perceptions within their time. To achieve this goal, I aim to explain the meaningfulness of ancient Greek art behind one's identity or the perception of this identity, and how it portrays societal expectations of gender, power, and status in Greek society. However, there are some limitations in achieving these interpretations, such as the fact that this magazine covers a wide time period from ancient Greece to early Rome, which often features changes in perceptions. Additionally, although we can still understand perceptions in their respective contexts, interpretation is also not exact and is based on a modern lens and understanding of fashion. The central definition of my project that is critical to understand is one of ancient Greek dress, which means the clothing of various figures portrayed in ancient Greek art, including the lack of clothing or the use of the body. This dress was represented in different art forms. We will be focusing on sculptures, which are very detailed, elaborate drapery and depiction of the body, along with pottery, which tend to be vases that use contrast to show these details with intricate borders. These definitions matter for accurate interpretation because they provide context between the interpretations and the thought process behind the artist when creating them. Now, to begin with our understanding of ancient Greek art and dress, we will begin with gender roles. On an Attic red figure Achilles, or a cup, we see a scene of a fight between Achilles and Troilos. Troilos, who is killed in the end, appears as a young adult male in the exterior garments, while on the interior, he has a contrasting boyish figure compared to that of the mighty Achilles. These contrasts show both sides of the same age, the juvenile and the mature, common within young adult males due to the transition from childhood and adulthood. This is further supported by both young men being in armor, showing the age of 18 years old at which boys were required to join the military. Another example includes the statue of the Nymphaeum of Herodes Atticus, a fountain and holy place that featured statues of the Roman imperial family and the family of Herodes Atticus. These statues show divisions in family groups, but they are within the same aristocratic social circle. Despite their different families, the women all have the same strict dress code, called the Greek costume, which is an outfit that is ordinary and unspecific but is timeless and perfect for any statue. This can be seen in the statue potentially depicting Elpenike, where she is wearing this specific costume. Women only wearing the same outfit shows how they're their own category. Meanwhile, the men in this group of statues all have different outfits, showing their various categories and opportunities. Women's traits regarding clothing can be seen within the context of gender roles. Ancient Greek society used clothing to enforce strict gender roles for women. They had a greater variety in dress depending on the activity, like politics, war, athletics. But women's garments were modest and restrictive, signaling a woman's virtue. Irene, the personification of peace, or a Greek virtue, wears a chiton that covers her entire body, showing her virtuous perception. The drapery appears to be heavy and difficult to do manual labor in, common for women as this luxurious garment that inhibit their daily activities in the domestic sphere. Social expectations required women to cover their bodies fully, and nudity was seen as a scandal and was forbidden. Moral ideals were also shown in Greek art, as seen in the Farnese Heracles, which is a large statue of the Greek hero Heracles. He is leaning on a wooden club cushioned by a lion's skin. His eyes and body are looking down, showing his exhaustion. He is completely in the nude, showing his ideal muscular body. Heracles achieved the tiring task of holding up the skies in place of the god Atlas in this scene. This accomplishment in muscular body revealed the ideal of men having extreme amounts of strength and power. Additionally, the Herculaneum woman shows two women, one larger and one smaller. The larger woman is veiled and mature, while the smaller woman is unveiled and young. Both wear a long chiton and use a himation to cover their body. The long dress and veil show their modesty, which is a critical trait in proper ideal women. They're also seemingly wealthy, as the thin clothing they're wearing is expensive. Both their arms are raised, subtly showing their defensiveness and self-protection, which was admired in women. Nudity was a critical aspect in portraying Greek morals in art. It carried a deep meaning based on its interpretation on gender and context. Male nudity was often idealized, representing heroism, athleticism, and moral virtue. However, female nudity was restricted and can be deemed as the term naked instead of nude. Naked describes a negative depiction of nudity and often shows an unidealized and embarrassed bodies, often seen with people considered lesser. Aphrodite of Knidos is an exception to this perception of woman. It was the first large-scale statue showing a nude, idealized woman who glorified her body, leading to a greater acceptance of more female nudity in art. This contrast in the perception of nudity among genders reflects broader societal attitudes, where male bodies were celebrated and female bodies were restricted. Socioeconomic status and jobs were also shown in Greek art, more commonly in pottery. The terracotta oinocho is a jug from an Athenian festival, and it has a focus on Pompeii, the goddess and spirit of religious processions, who is strangely a woman representing a priest, despite priests being predominantly male. She's dressing for an event with a transparent chiton that brings attention to her nudity and diadem. Again, a very common feature in male art. Her chiton is a pinkish color, reminiscent of the purple garments that male cult officials would wear, along with her golden accessories representing the displays of priestly status and wealth. Moreover, a red figure vase shows a prothesis scene, or a preparation and viewing of the body before burial. It has a deceased woman lying on a couch with her head on a pillow. She's wearing a plain shroud, has coiffed hair, and has a metal crown, possibly showing her marriage to death. There's an old Thracian slave woman, identified by her short red hair and sagging skin. The other woman in the scene is facing a deceased woman and has long, unbound hair, demonstrating a mourning state. She wears an elegant chiton, a sign of respect for the deceased and their proper transition to the afterlife. This could possibly mean that she's a family member, potentially a mother. The laying of the dead was often performed by women in the household, as they were associated with the dead and the funerals, as seen only women being portrayed here. Portrayal of status was significant in Greek art and can be shown in various clothing markers and relationships to show their societal status. Male citizens, particularly in the aristocracy, wore fine and dyed clothing. Regular male citizens, such as farmers, were still respected but were depicted in simpler, coarser garments designed for function rather than decoration. Free people had no citizen rights, and their clothing showed these restrictions. Women were included in this group, and they were expected to make clothing for their families and wear restrictive clothing. And oftentimes, the length of a child's chiton, also considered a free person, showed their age. The lower classes include slaves who wore limited laboring clothes, as seen in the statue of a plowman working, where they were considered to be another piece of farm equipment. Greeks idealized slaves to be loud and big, noticeable in the dominating sign of the man over the oxen. Barbarians, who were outsiders to Greek society, wore bodysuits with patterns, showing their outsider status in their clothing in contrast to their respected male Greek citizens. Clothing visually communicated wealth, occupation, and social hierarchy. Some key takeaways from studying these perceptions include the fact that ancient Greek art is a beautiful art form that remains accurate in its depictions. It has many different ways of showing perceptions through its forms of clothing, which is central to the art. The clothing reveals intent and biased opinions, whether it be from modest dresses to muscular nudity to show gender roles, moral ideals, and socioeconomic status and jobs. From a historical viewpoint, art reflects the deeper cultural values and perceptions of ancient Greece. It is one of the only ways to see how dress is directly correlated to societal roles from the creator's perspective, allowing for a deeper understanding of dynamics. However, the most important influence that can be learned from studying and understanding ancient Greek dress is its application to modern society. Fashion has always been used to express identity, values, and power dynamics, which is still maintained today. By studying and understanding the value of ancient Greek dress and art, we can question society today and how it still impacts us and how we portray ourselves and what we wear. Thank you so much.